When we think about who really holds the cards in global supremacy, our minds usually jump straight to massive armies, huge nuclear arsenals, or sprawling empires. But in this explainer, we're going to look at the map a little bit differently. True global power isn't actually held in weapons. It's locked within 14 tiny, almost invisible lines scattered across our oceans. Today, we're going to unlock these geographical doors and show you exactly who holds the real keys to the world's economy. Okay, let's start by getting our terms straight. What exactly is a choke point? Well, think of it as a narrow maritime route that dictates whether our global economy can breathe. If just one of these crucial water channels gets closed, whether that's from a war, piracy, or even just a weird accident, the entire world faces immediate fuel shortages, empty supermarket shelves, and skyrocketing inflation. They are literally the ultimate bottlenecks of human civilization. So here is our roadmap for today. First, we'll hit the Middle East trade routes. Second, Europe's critical sea gates. Third, Asia's high-stakes flashpoints. And finally, engineering marvels and future paths.
All right, let's dive right into part one, Middle East trade routes. We're starting off in a region that holds the world's ultimate treasure, oil. The doors out of this region are heavily guarded, and the stakes here are unimaginably high. Just to put this into perspective, over 30% of all globally traded oil is squeezed through the Strait of Hormuz, right between Iran and Oman. And here's the kicker. This massive global artery is only 33 kilometers wide. If a military closure were to happen here, millions of barrels of oil would be instantly trapped. We'd see global fuel prices absolutely skyrocket, messing up everything from your morning commute to global shipping logistics. Moving slightly south, ships trying to reach Europe have to pass through the Bab el-Mandeb Strait. Its name literally translates to the Gate of Tears, which makes sense given its history of fierce pirates and dangerous waters. Today, when this Gate of Tears gets threatened by regional conflicts, cargo ships are forced into a massive, sweeping detour all the way down and around Africa's Cape of Good Hope. That detour costs weeks of extra travel time, millions in extra fuel, and at the end of the day, it results in crippling inflation for everyday consumers like us.
And honestly, nothing illustrates the absolute fragility of this whole system better than what happened in 2021. Remember that? A single enormous ship, the Ever Given, accidentally wedged itself sideways in Egypt's man-made Suez Canal. In just 6 days, that one maritime traffic jam caused a staggering $54 billion loss to the global economy. It's a stark, almost absurd reminder that this single canal acts as the absolute backbone of trade between the East and the West.
Which brings us to part two, Europe's critical sea gates. Connecting the wild Atlantic Ocean to the Mediterranean Sea is a tiny 14-kilometer gap called the Strait of Gibraltar. Historically, empires fought tooth and nail for this exact spot, because whoever controls it basically controls half of the trade between Europe and Africa. Today, it's actually monitored by a British military base. Think about it. If you were to shut this single door, the Mediterranean instantly goes from being a connected global highway into a closed-off lake, completely severing maritime ties for half of Europe.
And this dynamic gets even more intense further east, with Turkey's gateways, the Bosphorus and Dardanelles Straits. These connect the Black Sea to the Mediterranean. Now, because so much of Russia's vast coastline is frozen solid for half the year, this specific route is their absolute red line for maintaining year-round ice-free trade. But under international law, Turkey holds the keys. They decide exactly which warships can and cannot pass, which forces global superpowers into an incredibly delicate diplomatic balancing act.
So, as we leave Europe and head farther east, the tension really starts to mount. It begs the question, which of these geographical doors actually holds enough strategic weight to trigger World War III? Well, let's explore that in part three, Asia's high-stakes flashpoints. First up is the Strait of Malacca, closely guarded by nations like Singapore. A massive 25% of all global sea trade relies on this one single route. For China, this creates something called the Malacca Dilemma. See, so much of their vital energy and export trade flows right through here that their entire economy is incredibly vulnerable. A potential blockade by a rival navy could completely sever their supply lines overnight. To get around that vulnerability, ships have to rely on backups. If Malacca's ever clogged or closed, massive oil tankers that require deep water are forced to sail through Indonesia's Sunda or Lombok Straits. Because these routes involve navigating right past active underwater volcanoes in super deep trenches, it's rapidly setting Indonesia up to be an incredibly powerful maritime gatekeeper for the future of Asian trade. But the ultimate flashpoint? The one that literally keeps global leaders awake at night is the Taiwan Strait. Taiwan produces over 70% of the world's microchips. We're talking about the brains inside your mobile phone, your laptop, and your car. This strait is the direct transit route for the absolute lifeblood of modern technology. And the geopolitical tension here, it is immense. China claims Taiwan and the strait as sovereign territory, while the US and its allies actively treat it as an international waterway to protect those critical supply lines. On top of that, strategically speaking, China needs to secure this strait so they can push their naval fleet, especially their submarines, past the restrictive chain of islands and out into the deep waters of the Pacific. It's a defining clash of superpower interests. Let's bring it all home with Part 4, Engineering Marvels and Future Paths. Instead of spending months sailing all the way around the South American continent, the Panama Canal just cuts right through it. This ingenious lock system is basically a water elevator. It literally uses gravity and huge volumes of fresh water to lift multi-ton cargo ships straight up and over a mountain. It's a massive speed accelerator for global trade and lets the US Navy bounce quickly between the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. But, nature always gets the last word. Climate change is currently causing prolonged droughts, which lowers the fresh water levels needed to actually operate those Panama locks. If this vital shortcut gets too restricted, ships have to fall back on the Strait of Magellan at the very bottom of South America. And let me tell you, that is a freezing, dangerous, and incredibly stormy route that drastically slows down global commerce. Jumping back across the Atlantic for a second, we find another incredibly busy path, Europe's English Channel. Over 400 commercial ships pass through here every single day to supply megaports like Rotterdam. It's a vital economic gateway. In fact, controlling this channel pretty much means controlling Europe's economy, which is exactly why, historically, Hitler desperately tried and totally failed to seize it from the British Navy during World War II. But as we look ahead to the future, our map is fundamentally shifting. The Bering Strait, nestled up between Alaska and Russia, has historically been completely blocked by ice, but it's melting, and fast. As this ice clears, it's going to forge a brand new, super direct trade route connecting Asia, Europe, and America. Superpowers are already maneuvering for position. And get this crazy statistic. Right now, the US directly or indirectly monitors 10 of these 14 global choke points. Which leaves us with a pretty massive thought to ponder as we wrap up this explainer. As ancient historical doors face modern threats, and completely new geographical doors start to thaw and open at the top of the world, who do you think will truly control the global economy of tomorrow? Thanks for exploring the map with us, and always keep questioning how the world really works.